This is Mac OS Ken.
How a TikTok ban could hinder Apple, lots of lawsuit news, and an interesting new store for an old MacBook Air. It is Monday, the 18th of March, 2024. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code MacOSKen at manscaped.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Have you been paying attention to moves in Congress to force a sale or ban of the video social network TikTok here in the States? I'll be honest, I've been paying attention to the US-centric politics of it without tracking any ramifications for Apple. Silly me. A piece from the website The Street has analysts like Deepwater Management Principal Gene Munster and Wedbush analyst Daniel Ives indicating that the U.S. government messing with TikTok here could easily lead to the Chinese government messing with Apple and other U.S. tech firms there. In case you've been paying no attention, The Street says the House on Wednesday voted 352 to 65 in favor of a bill that would give TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance 180 days to divest the app or face a ban. It still has to go through the Senate, which is expected to take longer to decide the issue. They vote the same way as the House, though. President Biden says he will sign the bill. Should that happen, Deepwater's Munster says Chinese leadership will argue U.S. tech companies are using their products to spy on the Chinese. By estimates he posted, about 23% of Tesla's revenue comes from China. Same with 18% of Apple's revenue and roughly 8% of NVIDIA's. The bottom line, says Munster, if the TikTok divestiture becomes law, there'll likely be modest pressure on China iPhone sales and Tesla sales. Well, as long as it's only modest pressure, I'm sure nobody's going to freak out. According to The Street, Mr. Ives over at Wedbush has echoed a similar impression, noting potential retaliatory actions China can head towards the likes of Apple and Tesla and U.S. big tech, though he said that a potential retaliation would likely impact Apple and Tesla the most, particularly as both companies' sales have been struggling in the country lately. Kind of a bummer he didn't say the part about modest pressure. The Fortnite fight is back on Down Under. Apple Insider says the battle in court between Epic Games and Apple in Australia is back on the schedule. Reminding us what that's all about, the piece says as part of its global legal battle against Apple over the popular game Fortnite, Epic Games attempted to bring the battle to Australian courts in 2020. However, in April 2021, a judge ordered a stay on the case until the U.S. version of the dispute reached a conclusion. Though there's still a bit of bickering, the case here in the States pretty much ended at the start of the year. That was when the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear appeals from either company. Now things can roll on in Australia, though not as originally intended. Apple Insider says the judge in the case has decided to fold a couple of other cases in, one that accused Google of similar monopolistic behavior, as well as a class action suit run on behalf of developers and consumers. The trial is expected to take about 5 months. With the prospect of a lengthy appeals process, Apple Insider says the lawsuits may not fully finish until 2025 or beyond. A class action suit against Apple has gotten the go-ahead here in the States. Bloomberg Law says a U.S. district judge in San Francisco ruled late last week that the Cupertino company must face charges that its device tracker, AirTag, helps stalkers track their victims. According to the report, about 36 women and men who filed the suit alleged that Apple was warned of the risks posed by its AirTags and argued the company could be legally blamed under California law when the tracking devices are used for misconduct. According to the report, the judge in the case decided that 3 plaintiffs in the class action suit had made sufficient claims for negligence and product liability, though he dismissed the others. In those 3, the judge says the plaintiffs allege that when they were stalked, the problems with AirTag's safety features were substantial and that those safety defects caused their injuries. While the judge is not saying that Apple is guilty, he can't say they're not at this point. Acknowledging Apple's arguments about safety features built into AirTag, the judge wrote that Apple may ultimately be right that California law did not require it to do more to diminish the ability of stalkers to use AirTags effectively, but that determination cannot be made at this early stage. One more lawsuit story. This one may be being put to bed by the Cupertino company. Mac Rumors says Apple has agreed to settle a suit that accused its CEO of defrauding shareholders. This goes back to comments made by Apple CEO Tim Cook over 5 years ago. On the fourth quarter fiscal year 2018 earnings call, Cook commented on how iPhone was faring in international markets. While the CEO said the company was seeing pressure in markets like Turkey, India, Brazil, and Russia, things in China were jake. In relation to China specifically, said Mr. Cook, I would not put China in that category. Our business in China was very strong last quarter. We grew 16%, which we're very happy with. iPhone in particular was very strong double-digit growth there. Our other products category was also stronger, in fact a bit stronger than even the overall company number. But things did not play out the way the company guided. In early January 2019, Cook penned a letter to investors restating guidance. The company had guided for revenue between $89 billion and $93 billion for the quarter. When the quarter was over, they said, actually, it's going to be closer to $84 billion. That, the CEO said, was because they misjudged China. Quoting that letter, while we anticipated some challenges in key emerging markets, we did not foresee the magnitude of the economic deceleration, particularly in Greater China. In fact, most of our revenue shortfall to our guidance and over 100% of our year-over-year worldwide revenue decline occurred in Greater China across iPhone, Mac, and iPad. Not only were investors displeased, some were disbelieving. They say Cook knew that iPhone demand was falling in China at the time of the November 2018 earnings call, according to Mac Rumors, but failed to disclose While Apple says it did nothing wrong, it's willing to pay $490 million to make the whole thing go away. The proposed settlement awaits judicial approval. More news in a moment, but first a word from Manscaped. You heard me. My dudes, it is time for a bit of spring cleaning, and Manscaped wants to help. Yes, we're talking about maintenance below the waist here. You might think everything's fine in those parts, but be honest, when's the last time you really thought about it? For me, it had been a bit. Then I got the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra from Manscaped. They've got a sense of humor about their product names that may not be yours. I would encourage you to look past that and focus on the products. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard blade for trimming and a new foil blade for going smooth. It's got a dual LED spotlight, which is surprisingly helpful. It's waterproof the way waterproof electronics are. You're not going to go swimming with it, but you can use it in the shower, saving time and cleanup. And it's got up to a 60-minute runtime lithium-ion battery. I mean, you're probably not going to need a full hour after the first time. I know this isn't what you thought we'd be talking about today, but think about it. Then visit manscaped.com to learn more and get a great deal. Get 20% off and free shipping with code MacOSKen at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with code MacOSKen, all caps, all one word, code MacOSKen at manscaped.com. MANSCAPED. Get 20% off and free shipping with code MacOSKen at manscaped.com. A surprising Mac has turned up in a surprising place. Retail giant Walmart issued a press release Friday saying it was selling the M1 MacBook Air. That is the same machine Apple itself stopped selling a couple of weeks ago. Sailing in for $699, the retailer says this is the first time customers can purchase a Mac directly from Walmart. Julie Barber, Executive VP of Merchandising at Walmart US, says in the release that the company is working hard to bring premium brands to its physical and virtual shelves, and that they're excited to work with Apple to do just that. Not all of their shelves, apparently, but some, it seems. Available in gold, silver, and space gray, the 13-inch machine with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage is available now at Walmart.com. It will soon be available in select Walmart stores, according to the release. Seeing Walmart's price and lowering it is longtime Apple partner Best Buy. A piece from Engadget says the appliances and electronics chain has the M1 MacBook Air on sale for $650. While that price may steal a bit of Walmart's thunder, it may not be for everybody. Engadget says the Best Buy deals appear to be tied to specific locations. Want to see what apps are available for Apple Vision Pro without having to buy an Apple Vision Pro? Apple has finally made that possible. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac says the Cupertino company has put a dedicated App Store for Apple Vision Pro page up on its site. The piece says the page offers users a rundown on new apps, lets them browse curated collections and categories, view screenshots, and so on. It's kind of strange they're not visible in Apple's established app stores. Then again, the confused among us might think we're buying a really awesome iPhone app, only to get nothing. Anyway, you can now peruse apps for Apple Vision Pro. No headset required. From virtual stores to physical locations, Apple's relocating store in Canada has a relocating date. Mac Rumors says the new store at the Square One Mall in Mississauga, Ontario, will open this weekend. Wording on the facade outside the Bigger Dig says the location will throw open its doors for the first time this Saturday, the 23rd of March at 10 a.m. local time. That'll leave Square One without an Apple store for one shopping day. Last day of operation for the old location is this Thursday, the 21st of March. And finally today, a story that blew my mind over the weekend. Have you heard about the giant streaming sports service Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, and Fox are planning to start? Well, they've hired a guy to run it. According to a piece from The Hollywood Reporter, Pete Distad, a veteran of both Apple and Hulu, has been hired to be CEO of the new joint venture, which is hoping to launch the service later this year. At Apple, the piece says, Distad led business, operations, and global distribution for video, sports, and Apple TV+. Before Apple, he worked at Hulu, where he worked on the original launch team, and eventually rose to Senior VP of Marketing and Distribution. What they're expected to do with the sports offering is interesting, though right now, it's not clear it's even 1/4 baked. It sounds like Distad will both build the service and answer to it. The companies behind the initiative say Distad will report to the board of directors of the service as soon as one of those is named. In a joint statement on the hire, the broadcast giants said Pete is an accomplished innovator and leader who has extensive experience with launching and growing new video services. We are confident he and his team will build an extremely compelling, fan-focused product for our target market. And they want to launch that this year. While all that is interesting, it's not the mind-blowing part. Not to me, anyway. The mind-blowing part to me was what I learned about Distad and was reminded about around Apple in looking into this story. Distad's name was familiar to me, but not overly. So I ran a search of well over a decade of macOS Ken scripts and got 2 hits. There was a story from a little less than a year ago when Distad left Apple, and a story about when he was hired. In July of 2013, over 6 years before Apple TV Plus launched. A piece on Apple TV Plus from Wikipedia says in June 2017, Apple began to take the first major steps to form its new television unit by hiring the co-president of Sony Pictures Television to oversee all aspects of worldwide video programming. Began in 2017, except for the part where they hired the senior VP of marketing and distribution from what was then the biggest streaming service for traditional content 4 years earlier. Maybe Apple TV Plus wasn't an idea at the time. Kind of weird, though, that this guy was at Hulu before it was a thing, then was at Apple TV Plus before it was a thing, and is now going to a sizable sports platform before it's a thing. I say all of that to say this. Headlines that say Apple is racing to do something, working to catch up on something, or is lagging behind some other company, they should probably be taken with a grain of salt. Did you catch Friday's The Checklist, brought to you by SecureMac? Very seasonal, this one. The green clothes, the green beer. They could only mean one thing. Time for the romance scam episode of The Checklist you might have expected about a month earlier. Bad guys are using AI to win your heart on dating sites and steal from you in the process. We talk about that, plus the Wild West world of romance chatbots. You're looking for checklist number 367, Love 2.0 Stinks. Find it now at securemac.com/checklist or wherever you get podcasts. macOS Ken, brought to you by me and sponsored by Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code macOSKen at manscaped.com. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Cha.